This video is proudly sponsored by DigimonCard.io for all your Digimon card, deck building, deck list, card pricing, and discussion needs. Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and today we're going to go over the new cards for Xros Heart in BT11, as well as have an example deck list at the end. And here in North America, Xros Heart kind of had a bad shake of things. It had its Xros 4, relevant for like 2 weeks before it got limited to 1, and no one really played Xros Heart after that, which is, I don't know, in my mind, a bit of a shame that we didn't get to see a deck be prevalent. But at the same time, if it was going to be like most of the meta, like a lot of people were predicting, maybe getting it neutered, early is the way. But it was just a really kind of weird release kind of schedule, and it just, I don't know. I'm excited to try it again in BT11. There's a lot of cool stuff for this deck, and even though like it's kind of like known as like the good deck a lot of the time, and I normally don't like those kind of decks, it's really cool. I like the things with the tamers. I like how different it plays, how you can play a bunch of different colors in this archetype and be rewarded for it. I really like it, and I do enjoy this deck and just the theme of it. So we're going to go over the new cards, and then I'll have the example deck list. So starting on off, we do have the kind of, I'd say, base cards. So it's the level 3 and the level 4. So first is the Shoutmon plus Star Sword. It is a level 3. It's a play cost of 5. You can digivolve on top of a level 3 for 0, or on top of a level 2 for 1, 4k DP, and then also has 1. It can be treated as Shoutmon or Starmon, which is actually quite nice to, have a flexible card that is treated as both. It has material save 1, it has an on play, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3k DP for the turn. Then if it Digicrossing with 2 cards, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 2k DP or less, and then also has a Digicross with a Starmons and a Shoutmon. So you can play this for technically as cheap as 3 if you have both, and then you're able to get rid of something too. So honestly, just in the idea that this can be used as either card, as well as if you need to, like Digi for 1 in raising, you can. It's not as nice, but you can do it if you really need that cycle and stuff, as well as there's a lot of times like there's a lot of like 3k DPs that prevent you playing cards with skills or reducing play cost of stuff. So being able to play the Shoutmon Star Sword as a card in the archetype to get rid of those obnoxious kind of rookies is kind of nice too. So I like it. I don't think it's a 4 of in the deck, but being like a 2 or 3 of, I think makes sense, just to help the consistency of seeing those Shoutmons and Starmons for your bigger plays. So like it there. And then we also have the Xros 3 as well. It is a material save for 2, and even though it's not as aggressive, I think this is by and large better than Xros 4 more times than not, since it has a on play, reveal top 3 cards of your deck, add 2 cards with Xros Heart Blue Flare among them to your hand, and place the remaining of your bottom deck in any order. And the fact that you can play this for 1 if you digicross with everything, which is great. So it's Shoutmon, Ballistamon, and Drulomon, being able to do that. Since it's 1 material less, you still technically get a draw 2 in this for most of your cards, as well as like it doesn't kill itself, or it doesn't KO itself and reset a tamer like the Xros 4 does. But at the start of your turn, if it's still around, you can delete it to gain a memory. So I don't think it's optional. Is it optional? I actually don't know. Let me know if it's optional or not. I think it is. As far as I know, it's an optional. You can choose to delete it or not. But just the fact that you can use this to cycle through your deck for just a cheap 1. And then if you do have the Shoutmon from BT10 underneath it, you do get to rush with it. And that's kind of nice there. So I like the card a lot. And again, I think in like modern like Xros 7 builds, it's better than Xros 4. You probably still run 1 Xros 4 and then the rest are Xros 3s. But I do like the idea of the card. Next up, we do have the Omni and Zeeg lines, and this is kind of interesting for what it is, being able to do a lot of flexible stuff. Like both of these cards are just in a bunch of archetypes. The Zeeg line is obviously in the Blue Flare, which there are a lot of similarities to, and there's just more excuse the pun, between the 2 archetypes in this one. So starting with Omni Shoutmon, you can digivolve for 4 on top of a regular Shoutmon if you need to. When you would digicross, the name of this card is also treated as Shoutmon, which is nice too. And then also when digivolve and delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a DP of 4k or less, Digimon has Shoutmon its devolution cards, delete 2 of your opponents instead. So you can get like a nice little deletion there, and also an on deletion save. You get to save 1 of your cards underneath, and then your turn, when this Digimon has Shoutmon in its name, this card gains security attack of +1. So you can, if you can't get rush, you can get like security attack +1 underneath this if you treat it as a Shoutmon. And then also we have the Zeke Greymon. So it's Digivolves for 2 on top of a Metal Greymon. So it's for the blue archetype or blue flare. But both these cards can be in Beather because if you look at the devolution cost, you can go on top of a blue or red. This is level 5 and this is level 6 too. So technically you can go into Omni Shout into Z Gray, but that's not necessarily what you do. But when Digivolving, unsuspend the Digimon. Then if a card with blue flare crosshairs in its traits, if this Digimon devolution cards, your opponent has 2 or more Digimon in play, you get to gain 2 memories. So there can be times where you just go into like Omni Shout and you have it out, and then you can Digivolve into the Z Greymon for technically 1 and get an unsuspend. This also can work really good with the Cross 5 if you run it, if you really want to go for the kind of Z Greymon line for it. I think this is just an okay card for what it is on deletion, and also post turn with this Digimon has blue flare and its traits, it gains blocker. Which it has to be only blue flare, but we're going to see, and most of the other level 6s or 7s we have do qualify for that. So lastly, we do also have the Shoutmon DX, and this is fantastic too because it's treated as both an Omni Shout and a Z Greymon, which we'll see in a little bit why it's important. Material save of 2 on play. Delete one of your opponent's Digimon with DP of 8k or less, and then one of your opponent's Digimon may not attack until your opponent's next turn. So just kind of like deleting 2 Digimon on play is great. End of attack by deleting this Digimon, gain 1 memory, and then also Omni Shout and Z Greymon for the Digicross. You can't really see it because I'm in the way, but it does have the, I'll go the other way. It has the Xros Heart and Blue Flare traits there, which is quite nice for the flexibility for both archetypes. And you can play this for a cost of 7 if you have both the Omni Shout and the Z Greymon, which is cool too. So all of this is cool. I like this little line here, and it really goes into this last kind of slide here. It is the Cross 7. So this has Rush inherently, which is quite nice, and it doesn't have the Shoutmon. It's actually in a material, but it's Omni Shoutmon, Z Greymon, Ballistamon, Drulumon, Starmons, and Sparrowmon as yours. So you can Digicross it for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 14 minus 12 is 2. So if you have everything, which isn't as hard as it looks sometimes, you can play this for 2. On play, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with DP less than or equal to this Digimon's, and also all turns for every 2 cards in this Digimon's evolution sources. This gains plus 1k. So if you get the full 6, it gets a plus 3 because then it becomes a 16k, which pretty much deletes most cards in the game. Like it's absurd how good that is. So really strong effect there. It has material save of 4, and then it also has Xros Heart and Blue Flare as its type. So if you use the Omni Shoutmon and the Z Greymon, it will have security attack plus 1 and blocker, and it will have reboot if you have the Sparrowmon as well inherently. So really great boss monster for what the game is. And if you're able to keep your tamers on the board and keep them, healthy with your materials, you're able to Digicross for more and more, assuming you have a Taiki or the new tamer, which we'll talk about in a second. We also have Mervamon, which is not traditionally, at least like the previous one wasn't, but like this is a really kind of nice little tech for the deck. So it is a Xros Heart as well. When you play this card, you may also place cards from your trash in its devolution or its Digicross. It only has a Digicross of 1 for 3 for anything with Xros Hearts in its trait. So you play this for big, 8. But on play or when Digivolving, you may play 1 purple level 4 or lower Digimon, or 1 level 4 or lower Digimon with Xros Hearts traits from your trash without paying its memory cost. If Digicrossing, add 1 to the number. So you get to play 2 things, which is not too bad, for 4 or less. And then also, all turns, all your Digimon with Retaliation or Xros Heart and its traits gain Rush and Blocker. So essentially, if you Digicross with this for 8, you get to play 2 Xros Hearts, and both of them have the effects of Blocker too inherently. So I think that's actually pretty good for what it is, and that is really, really nice. And this also has Xros Heart, so this also has Blocker inherently too. So that is nice as well. So I think this is a good 2 of it that helps you recycle some materials that you've lost maybe early in the game. And again, 8 to play 3 bodies is pretty good. And then lastly, we have the Taiki, Kiriha, and Nene. So start of main phase by placing 1 Digimon with Xros Heart or Blue Flare and its traits underneath this. You get to gain 1 memory and draw 1, which is nice. And also your turn, it has the same thing as the Taiki. When you play Digimon Digicross by spending this tamer, you place cards from under your tamers as evolution cards for Digicross. So being able to use this to pretty much use all your materials once again, I think is a good effect as well. So not necessarily, I'd say a 4 of. I think Taiki is still better than this tamer by and large, but to have a couple extra copies to help you find it and get it consistently, I think is good too. if you also want to be crazy, Cross 7 and this card both have white color. So if you want any white option cards to play, which can be somewhat good, that's something for you as well. But that is all the new cards for the archetype. And in general, we're just going to go to the example deck. There's a lot of ways to build it, but I think this one's a pretty simple one. So let's go to that one. And here is my current build for the deck. It's probably the most basic build you can do for it. Pretty conservative with a lot of your ratios and just running a lot of, like, I'd say the standard package for a lot of this, with the idea that, you're consistent for what you're doing and that kind of stuff. But something that's really cool about this archetype in general is, again, you're running so many colors. Primarily red and yellow are kind of your two staple colors. And because of that, you're able to run a lot of kind of different tech cards that you can technically run and all that other stuff. So again, I'd say there's a whole room of like deck building for this archetype specifically that not a lot of other decks get, just because of that as well. So again, you can also just kind of more go towards the blue flare route as well if you really just like the blue flare, and even just playing Shoutmon X7 for like -6 cost with just having the Z Greymon, the Shoutmon DX, and the Omni Shout, if you want to go that way, is still really strong for what it is. You get it out for pretty cheap. You get some good destruction and like a protection and the blocker on this guy too. So I think there's a way to build it more on the blue flare side. And if you guys want me to do that as well, please kind of let me know. But in general, like if you do like the standard build, a lot of these spots are taken just by the cards you have to run. 4 Shoutmons, 4 Starmons, 4 Sparrowmons, 4 Duelamons, and 4 Ballistamons are pretty standard there. We're running 3 of the Cross 3 and 1 of the Cross 4. I still kind of like, if you want to run 4 Cross 3, that's totally fine. I like this card for what it is. It gets, I say, generically more value for cheaper than Cross 4 because of its, it's 1 less material. It still draws 2 essentially, and you don't have to like this. It still costs 1 best case, and that's having all 4 cards. But this costs 3 best case, and it's having like only 3 cards. So or 1 best case with only 3 cards. We're running 2 Shoutmon Star Sword just for the flexibility of it, and like we are running now 14 rookies technically that can go in raising, which is a good number for a deck like this. We're running a 3-3 split between the Z Greymon, the Omni Shoutmon, and 2 of the Shoutmon DX just because it can be either or if we really need it to be, and then 3 of the Shoutmon Cross 7 because you always see this more or less. It's every archetype that you need, so it's searchable with pretty much all of your cards. You will eventually see it and you won't be worried about it. We're running 2 of the Mervamon because I like what it does in this archetype too. And if you, the kind of nice thing, if like another way to run this too, is if you really like the Mervamon and the amount of value it gets, you can run it with the Shoutmon Cross 5. And the Mervamon says that when you Digivolve with it as well, you get the effect, and it Digivolves on 4 of something of black. So Shoutmon Cross 5 actually can Digivolve into this, and you can technically play this card for free as well because of the effect of it. So you only get to play one thing because you can't Digicross and Digivolve in the same thing, but there are some lines there if you like it too, as well as everything else. We're running a 4-3-2-2 lineup for the Tamers. Mikey, our Taiki, is also just the best one. Akari just gets more value by drawing. Zenjiro lets get some extra memory if you need to. And Taiki and Kiriha and Nene is really good if you if they hit insecurity, you're feeling really good about it. Otherwise, it's a little sometimes hard to justify playing 4 for this unless it's like turn 1. Like turn 1, this is actually a really good tamer if you don't have anything else because you get a lot of value on the next couple of turns by putting stuff underneath it for free. But I don't know, it gets clocky very fast, especially since you can't play it for free with Sunrise Buster, which is why we took it out of the deck, just because I didn't have as much good stuff to play off for free with it. If you guys like Sunrise Buster, you can put it right back in. And then lastly, Shoutmon King version, which got a little bit of love when the Cross 4 went away, but this is also treated as Shoutmon, which is cool for your plays. And on play, you return 1 card of Digicross requirements from your trash to your hand. When you Digicross this turn, this Digimon may replace one of the Digicross requirements, and you get to play this for technically 2 as long as you Digicross with anything, as far as I know. So it's just good for what it is, and being able to recycle your other cross, big Digicross cards, and then use it as one of the materials if you need to is very helpful for that as well. Other than that, I think it's pretty straightforward. This deck is really flexible in what it does. It doesn't have like really good bombs and security, but it has so much to gain from your opponent hitting your security advantage-wise, which is really cool. And sometimes you just get a lot of bodies out for free, and you get to swing in for game with the effect of Shoutmon on top of the Cross 3s, on top of the Cross 7, which has Rush inherently, or even your Cross 4, even your Shoutmon plus Star Sword. That's also a possible card there too. So there it is. This is the deck. I hope you guys enjoy it. And let me know if you guys want to see like a blue flare version of this with Cross 7. I haven't tried, I haven't built it yet, but I can. And any other of the BT11 archetypes you kind of want me to go over as well. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll catch you all next time.